We're going to be saying a few words here from the lectern in this area, so if you can find a spot where you can see here, that would be great. You can see through the reception center and to the sides. My name is Curtis Ostad. I'm the Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations here in Norwich. So I want to welcome you all to the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce Mixer. Thanks for coming. It's nice to see a good turnout here. And, some faces that I know and some faces that I'm just meeting for the first time tonight. I'm not sure how many of you know much about Norwich's history. I'm just going to speak for a couple of minutes on Norwich and the museum. The Norwich, of course, has been here, well, it's been in existence since 1819, here in Northfield since 1866? 1855. President Schneider knows much better than I do.
The fire was in 1855, we were actually moved here in 1856. For those historians.
I'm still learning that part. I've been here about 2.5 years. I'm also on the leadership committee of the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm summoned for that committee. We have some cadets here this evening, too numerous to mention, but certainly speak to any of them if you like about any history of Norwich, anything in the museum. Many of them are quite well versed in Norwich history and military lore, and they're here to answer your questions and tell you anything about Norwich, what you need to know. Norwich, as I say, has been here for 191, going on 192 years, or been in existence. Always been an institution. It started as a military college, now serving civilian students as well as military, but producing some fine students every year. Norwich has, I'm sure, put officers into the Army and the armed forces for every war since the Civil War, since the Mexican War, in fact. So a fine tradition there. The museum is named for General Gordon Sullivan, who is a Norwich class of 1959, a 4-star general in the Army, retired, and the Army Chief of Staff for 4 years in the 90s. When you look in the museum, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's set up into kind of 3 areas. The east side is basically dedicated to all of the Norwich memorabilia, things that Norwich cadets have collected, or Norwich alumni have collected and sent back to the museum. All things related to Norwich, and also dedicated to General Sullivan and much of his history. In fact, the center table in there is his memorabilia from a lifetime of service in the military, and various things he's picked up along the way. And there's much information about General Sullivan there as well. Down the center is kind of the Norwich history of Norwich alumni, the distinguished alumni through the years. And then on the right side, looking this way on the west side, are the changing exhibits. We have, right now we have a Civil War exhibit and Strike Up the Band. So a history of the Norwich Band, the oldest standing marching band, cadet or collegiate marching band in the country, by the way. That exhibit changes, I think twice a year. Kelly Nolan, our interim director, could probably answer that. Yeah, about twice a year. So again, the Civil War right now, celebrating the sesquicentennial of our Civil War, and Strike Up the Band. So there are videos in the back corner too, some of my favorites. You can actually see some videos of Norwich history, and Rook Week, which is my favorite. We get to see what the cadets go through in the first week here at Norwich, which is quite entertaining. The museum's open to the public from 9 to 4, Monday to Friday. You're all welcome to come back anytime during those business hours and take a look. And we'll leave it open a little bit tonight after the event, so you're welcome to go back and see what we have. I just want to give you a little bit about Norwich and the community, what Norwich's benefit to the community. Obviously, we're educating students. We're producing college graduates. We're producing leaders in the military, leaders in business. Many of them, probably about 20 to 25%, are Vermont residents. So we're educating a lot of Vermont students here in Norwich. But that means about 75, 80% are out-of-state residents. And that's where we get our revenue, is from all these out-of-state residents, as well as from foundations, corporations, donors, alumni, many of them from out-of-state. Basically, if you look at it this way, we bring tens of millions of dollars into the state, into the region. And most of that is then distributed within the region. For our employees, I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 750 to 800 employees. About 600 of them are Vermont residents. So we're bringing that money that we earn out of state into the region, in improving the economy here, distributing among the employees and among the general contractors that do all the construction on campus, provide so many of our services. So many of them are Vermont contractors, local and regional businesses. So, including, we've got E.F. Wall, I think Engelberth Construction might be here tonight. L. Brown and Sons does our printing. Basin Murray, I know they're here tonight. Casella Waste Management, Zyder Masonry, they actually did the stone here that you see in the museum. So this is Norwich's benefit to the community. You folks specifically is to improve the economy, to bring this money in from out of state, distribute it among all of us, you hardworking people, all our staff. So that's basically very good for the regional economy. The other thing Norwich has done recently, I'll just talk briefly about it, is the Center for Civic Engagement. We all know of Hurricane Irene and the devastation that it wrought here in the state, and in Northfield specifically. The center is our department that really facilitates all of the volunteer efforts of the students on campus. Before the hurricane, about 85% of our students would volunteer in some effort or another, which is extraordinary. To have all those students just willing to volunteer to go out and help stock shelves at the food shelf, help the elderly, help mentoring programs in some disadvantaged communities. Since the hurricane, we put in place a constant flow of volunteers going out to various communities, especially here in Northfield, but also Waterbury, I think Duxbury, I'm not sure, some of the other local regions, local towns. We put in over 4,000 hours of volunteer service in about a month's time. So very extraordinary. So these are some of the benefits that Norwich gives to the community in general. And that's really in keeping with the ethos of our founder, Captain Alden Partridge, whose decree was to all of his students was service to nature other before self. So I just want to give you a rough idea of Norwich, a little bit about the university. Now I'd like to introduce Norwich's president, Richard Snyder.
Great to have you all here, and this is a magnificent space, and it's all Vermont. Everything that's in this building, we made here in our state, in this beautiful state, and we couldn't be more proud of it. That's actually the best thing we ever did for admissions. We have the students come and their parents or grandparents come, and we leave the parents and grandparents here, and by the time we bring the kid back from talking to the coach and the faculty members, they're writing the deposit check. We want you here. But it's so fitting that you guys are here on the eve of Veterans Day. Of course, the school founded in a very simple model of Captain Alden Partridge, who believed in two basic things. The first one, in time of crisis, every man, and in those days only the men were educated, unfortunately, ladies, in 1819, every man who was college educated should learn how to lead troops. And most of the schools, we needed great pastors, and most of the schools were seminaries in 1819. Partridge tried for 4 years to get women to come. The parents wouldn't pay the bill. They wouldn't educate the women. Now we do. About 20% of the Corps are women, and about 40% of our civilian students are women. And that's a great testament to how much it takes one team, one fight to win, and it takes all the great minds working together. And that's what we're trying to do here. This place, though, has been a stunningly wonderful success for us. We've been building a year, probably for the last 14 years. Many of the contractors know this in the room. And you are our buddies. You are our strategic partners. I love you guys. And I know you love us, too. And we were joking with Mike Siever, who I'm going to embarrass here for just a few minutes, about how this whole circle works. You know, Mike's got a bank, we've got a number of wonderful banks in Vermont. In fact, Vermont banks stayed, they didn't mess with the toxic stuff. They were smart, they were honest, they were legitimate, they were just wonderful bankers. And we benefited as a state because of that. But, they loan our contractors money. We joked about that. We build buildings and we pay our contractors so they can pay back the bank, and we borrow money from the bank, and it's just wonderful the way this all works. Capitalism is not a bad thing, as long as you keep moving around. And that's one of the things that you guys do, okay? You're all in business, or you play an important role in our state and our central Vermont. And so we're really glad you're here. We know we're an economic engine, as every school should be. We're usually counter-cyclical also. And, although this is, we are doing the ski slope across the way, In fact, we've been logging it probably for the last 5 months or so, but we're going to reopen Payne Mountain ski area. We're not for alpine skiing. It's going to be for cross-country skiing, mountain biking, snowshoeing, snowshoe running, and then there'll be a paintball course. They love paintball, right? You guys love paintball, I know you do. And so there'll be a paintball course. It'll be open to the public. Our spaces will be open to the public, and we'd hope that you could be out there and stay healthy and strong and run those trails with us, which is exactly what we're going to do to them. Great. But it's going to be a great addition to the campus. And then after that, we'll be working on Sabine Field, putting artificial grass down, lighting the field, putting a new track in, and then new stands and a new press box. And it's going to be a huge addition to that end of the campus, the northern end, which, to be quite honest, we haven't spent a lot of money on the northern end of the campus, except the beautiful Doyle Hall and Kreisberg Arena. But the rest of it needs to be pumped up like as nice as the southern entrance here, with the bridge and South Hall and this building and the beautiful Kreisberg Library, which is actually the first one I built in 1992. So to all of you that have served, I want to say Happy Veterans Day to you tomorrow. For all of you that have family members who have served, thanks for supporting them. It's a team effort. It's one team, one fight, and we can't do it without our families. I know I couldn't have served 30 years in the Coast Guard without the great support of my family. And I think there's not a military man or woman in the room that wouldn't say, look at all the credit really goes to them, because we're leaving them. I will tell you, whenever our washing machine broke, I was at sea. Whenever the car died, I was at sea. And that's just the way it goes. You know, the kids get sick or what have you. And there are people, thank God, at home taking care of everything while we're doing what we need to do for the nation. So on the eve of Veterans Day, it's very appropriate that you guys are here with us to celebrate. Just two clarifications in the because we have an honor code here. It was 1866, not 1856, so I don't want anybody flunking their Norwich history exam. It's 1866. We actually moved to Northfield, and by the way, this is a great lesson in economic development. We had a huge tragic fire. In fact, there are pictures of the old South Barracks in the museum. We think it was the second largest building at that time in Vermont, with the State House being first. And our whole school was in this building. The armory, the recitation halls, the mess hall, the students' bedrooms, barracks now we call them, were all there. And we had a huge fire. The rumor is that the men from Dartmouth came across the river one night and burned us to the ground because none of the women in town would date the Dartmouth boys. They'd only get the cadets because they look so much better in their uniform. That's the alumni story. Those historians in the room are looking at me like, what is he talking about? That's the alumni story. The real thing is, it was probably a chimney fire, but we don't really know. We don't know, but it was terrible. But about 180 people in Northfield banded together and approached them, the trustees, and said, if you come and bring your school to Northfield, we will give you 14 acres and we will build you your first building. And they said, that's a good deal. We're coming. So they marched the regiment, all of about, I don't know, 35 kids. And we still do that today, by the way. We did it 2 football games ago. They did a historic march up from Norwich to recreate that and to bring the game ball to the game, by the way. And which is kind of adds another little dimension. They weren't playing football in 1819, but it's still historically good. And and we celebrate that. And by the way, that was the basis upon which we came here, and we've been investing ever since. We also have mandatory PE, mandatory military training, and our academic programs in 1819 were very applied, very practical as they are today. Those 4 elements is what the U.S. Senator Morrell, Vermonter, established every land-grant school in America. All the A&Ms are modeled after Norwich. The only difference is we're private. We're an independent school. I don't get a dime from the state of Vermont. UVM probably gets a dime from the state of Vermont, but technically they do, but they don't. They get a lot. They need to get more. But anyway, that law created all the A&Ms in America. And so you are at a very historic place. Big ideas come from our little tiny state. And that is one of them that have established higher education in a way that no other country in the world has ever done. None. But we have it here. Because our founders, our early founders, as well as the smart guys that came after them, knew that education unlocks so many things. So the two principles that Partridge believed in, every college-educated man had to know how to lead troops. And the second one was we couldn't afford a large standing army. They needed to be building the economic base of the economy of the republic. Because if you owe people money, you can't be free. Does this sound familiar? Nothing has changed since 1819. All right, so we make them really smart. They serve when the country needs them. Some of them go a lifetime like General Sullivan. Some of them go one hitch and they're out, and then they become bankers or masons or electricians or doctors or lawyers or whatever they want to be to strengthen the republic. That's what we do here. That's what we've been doing since 1819, and God willing, that's what we do for another 192 years. But with your great help, we'll do that. And I'm going to recognize now a wonderful guy, Mike Sieber, front and center. Everybody can applaud Mike Sieber. If you're with the bank, you get a paycheck from the bank. And we send the bank money, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, are you really working? Okay. Getting paid with it. No, it's okay. Yeah, CEOs, we don't really work. We just talk. We meet people. So we have this wonderful campaigns that we have going on to build buildings and to fund students, pay down our debt or whatever it takes. And Mike and his gang have been instrumental in securing our future with a wonderful gift. And just like when Jim Pritzker gave us the lead gift for this building, he said, I don't need to be named, the building doesn't need to be named for Pritzker, we got enough buildings named for Pritzker. Who was your senior officer? And Jim, and by the way, it's General Sullivan, because he was the chief of staff of the Army, as you heard. And so he never took the name. But we're going to put a name for the People's United Bank somewhere, and it's going to be now known in the Kreisberg Arena. The ticket booth is going to be your bank's ticket booth. So when somebody says, I'll meet you at Kreisberg Arena, they're really meaning I'm going to meet you at People's United ticket booth. Because that's what it's going to be now called forever. It's going to be the People's ticket booth. I think that sounds very Republican. I want Mike standing over here so you can see this, especially. Those of you guys kind of hanging around. These two gentlemen are going to unveil this, and then I'm going to want you to read what's on the plaque. All right. So let's big round of applause as we unveil this wonderful bronze plaque in honor of the bank.
The ticket booth dedicated in recognition of the generosity of People's United Bank. Thank you.
Family thing for now. Family goes way back in Northfield, and this whole family, the Sieber family, has been investing in Norwich, which we greatly appreciate.
Okay, you guys ready?
We're ready.
3, 2, 1, smile.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay, so thank you.
Nice to see you.
Do you want to respond?
No.
So let me say thank you for coming. You may stay. Please go through the exhibits if you haven't had a chance, but it's been great having you all here. Have a wonderful night. Happy Veterans Day. Norm. So now when we come to the game,
Don't go into the museum just yet. Somebody's going to have the opportunity to make the $36 from the raffle.
oh, sorry.
Okay. All right. And we will draw for some beautiful door prizes. Get on that momentarily. Our thanks and congratulations to both Norwich University and the People's United Bank. Very, very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and They're special folks in our community. We appreciate it very much.
So we have a drum roll for the drawing?
Drum roll. Be money. This is cash. We'll do cash last.
This tax.
In keeping with the military museum, it is wonderful to have one door prize from a Vermont Historical Society, which just happens to be a photo book of Vermont in the Civil War. And the recipient is Paul Daniels, Woodman of the World. Tree ornament, Norwich University goes to Gary Clark, Bates Murray. Sit around and draw the next winner for us. Seems only fair, right? Another ornament and hat goes to Debbie Zeider.
They left.
Oh, that's too bad, Debbie. In that case, goes to, I know Chief Makos is here. Oh, Chief. Chief, if you draw one more for us. The final goes to Vermont Computing. There must be a Jeremy on this somewhere. As a matter of fact, we'd like you to draw to find out who gets $36 cash. No. Yeah, that's why we went to draw from this one. I don't do so good with words, but I can do numbers. 8, 3, 4, 1, 3, 7.
That's me.
Jim Greer, Better Home Inspections. Thank you, sir.
Just to finish things off, I'll let you folks know on the table in the back there, not the one with food, but the other table, there are plenty of handouts and giveaways there, some Norwich keychains, we've got some vintage postcards from the museum, from our archives, some Captain Aldrich portrait prints, help yourself to that, and also annual reports and copies of the record, our online magazine. And one thing I'd like to announce, in recognition of this event, we want to make this available by raffle to the entire Central Vermont Chamber community. This is a Dale Gallen print, signed and numbered, called For Distinguished Gallantry, which also features, I believe, a Norwich officer. And we're going to be offering this within the next couple of weeks somehow through the website or by email or mailings. And anyone who is interested can sign up for this, and we'll figure out the exact details. But I wanted to show you folks what this looks like. This is something we sell here in the museum. A very nice print. If it's something you're interested in, keep an eye on your email and the website. And thanks very much for coming, and I appreciate having you all here.
Once again, meet somebody you haven't met, and museum and the hospitality